Oscar Piastri has just dropped an absolute bombshell on McLaren, one that no one in the paddock saw coming. After weeks of speculation, whispers, and conspiracy theories flying across social media, the young Australian finally broke his silence, revealing the shocking truth about what's really been happening inside the team. The revelation wasn't about sabotage, secret upgrades, or hidden technical failures. It was something far more personal and far more unsettling for McLaren. Piastri admitted that the car isn't the problem. There's no broken part, no mystery fault buried in the data. The issue, he said, is him, or rather, how he's had to fight against his own instincts just to keep the McLaren 39 on pace. For a driver as calm, analytical, and precise as Piastri, that confession hit like a thunderclap. Throughout the weekend in Mexico, his frustration had been building. The numbers didn't lie. He was miles off the pace of Lando Norris, almost 40 seconds adrift by the checkered flag. But what truly stunned the paddock wasn't the result. It was how he explained it afterwards. Piastri said the McLaren 39 had plenty of speed in it, just not speed he could access. He described feeling as though he was wrestling a car that refused to respond, one that demanded a completely different driving style from the smooth, controlled rhythm that had defined his success earlier in the season. In Mexico, he was trapped in dirty air for much of the race, unable to clear traffic or gauge whether his experiments with corner entry and throttle control were working. Every lap became an exercise in frustration, knowing the pace was there but being powerless to unlock it. Inside McLaren, his comments sent shockwaves. This wasn't a driver blaming the team or deflecting responsibility. It was a brutally honest admission that the bond between man and machine had broken down. The McLaren 39, a car that once seemed perfectly tailored to Piastri's composed, methodical style, had evolved into something he no longer recognized. And that's what makes this so fascinating. According to Piastri, the car hasn't changed at all, nothing mechanical, structural, or fundamental. The only thing that's changed is how he has to drive it. That single revelation that the car is fine but no longer suits him exposes a deeper tension inside McLaren that goes far beyond setup sheets or tire data. Piastri's bombshell isn't just a story about a race in Mexico. It's the story of a championship slipping through his fingers, one adjustment, one compromise at a time. His words pulled back the curtain on what it really feels like to fight for a title when your confidence in the car begins to fade, and the timing couldn't be more dramatic. As Lando Norris celebrates his dominance and takes the championship lead by a single point, Piastri is left searching for answers in plain sight. What happens next could define not only his season, but the entire dynamic inside McLaren. His revelation after the Mexican Grand Prix has completely changed the tone of McLaren's title campaign. What began as a quiet dip in form has now turned into a full-blown psychological battle, both inside his own head and within the walls of Woking. Piastri's statement that nothing has changed mechanically on the McLaren 39 stripped away any convenient excuses. There was no setup trick, no hidden flaw, no uneven treatment between him and Norris. The evidence pointed to a simple but brutal truth. The car is fine, but Piastri's connection with it has fractured. That admission shocked the paddock, not because it accused McLaren of wrongdoing, but because it showed how brutally honest a young driver could be under immense pressure. In Formula One, drivers usually hide their weaknesses. Piastri just laid his out for the world to see. Inside McLaren, engineers stood by their data like a wall of defense. Every metric, every trace showed identical cars running at near-perfect efficiency. The problem wasn't in the numbers, it was in the feel. Telemetry comparisons between Norris and Piastri exposed the divergence clearly. Norris was braking later, throwing the car into corners, and letting it dance on the edge of adhesion. Piastri's inputs were cleaner, too clean. No aggression, no flow. He'd become too precise, too controlled, as if trying to tame something that refused to be tamed. McLaren's performance team quietly concluded what many suspected. Piastri's tension behind the wheel was translating into lap time loss. Andrea Stella, calm as ever, tried to reframe the situation. He said the car demands a more aggressive approach in low-grip conditions, the kind of challenge that suits Norris naturally. But for Piastri, it's like asking a pianist to play drums. Even Stella admitted after Mexico that they might tweak his brake bias and differential maps to bring the front end back toward his preference, an attempt to restore the comfort zone that once made him so deadly consistent. But there's risk in that too. Every tweak that favors Piastri could potentially slow Norris. And that's a political minefield McLaren desperately wants to avoid. Meanwhile, Norris continues to thrive. His fearless rotation, snap oversteer, and instant corrections perfectly matched the McL 39's narrow performance window. His laps in Mexico were a masterclass in aggression and confidence, each sector proof of how in sync he is with the car. That dominance, while great for McLaren's constructors' hopes, has created a psychological imbalance within the team. Fans can see it. So can rivals. The optics of one driver leading the race by 40 seconds, while the other fights dirty air, have fueled endless debate online. Conspiracy theories about favoritism spread like wildfire, but Piastri's bombshell has silenced that noise. There's no bias, no sabotage, just a difference in feel that's now defining the championship. The championship picture only heightens the drama. Norris leads by a single point. Verstappen is closing fast. And Piastri is being forced to adapt under the most brutal pressure of his young career. Brazil, Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi remain four completely different circuits, each demanding something unique. Analysts believe Interlagos and Vegas will favor Norris's twitchy, on-the-edge driving, while Qatar, the smooth, high-grip circuit where Piastri won last year's sprint, could finally offer him a counterpunch. Abu Dhabi might be the decider, testing who has truly mastered their car by season's end. Every detail matters now: tire warm-up, energy deployment, brake temperature. Even a 10th lost in confidence could mean a championship lost in points. Villeneuve's warning looms large. Asterisk. It's not the right time to have low form. The season is long. Drivers are tired, and confidence doesn't reset overnight. Asterisk. That's the cruel truth of late-season Formula One. Fatigue amplifies everything, every mistake, every doubt, every shadow of frustration. McLaren knows this. Their challenge is to rebuild Piastri's mental edge before it's too late. The engineers believe the pace is there. They see it in the data. But extracting it will take more than setup changes. It'll take Piastri rediscovering the fearless simplicity that made him a title favorite in the first place. And yet, there are glimmers of hope. During the latter stages of the Mexican Grand Prix, Piastri said he began to feel small improvements in how the car rotated under throttle. It's not victory, but it's progress. And in a sport where margins define destiny, progress can be everything. The question is whether those gains will survive the chaos of Interlagos or the lights of Las Vegas. For now, McLaren's camp remains outwardly calm, but everyone inside knows the truth. If Piastri can't adapt, Norris will run away with it. Still, Piastri has built his reputation on intelligence, not emotion. His response after Mexico was measured: no finger-pointing, no excuses, just a clear statement. Asterisk, we'll analyze and see if what I changed was effective. Asterisk, that's the voice of a driver who understands the problem but hasn't lost belief. And that's what makes this battle so compelling. It's not about who has the faster car, it's about who can find themselves again when the pressure is at its peak. As the final four races approach, the stage is set for one of the most fascinating internal duels in modern Formula One. McLaren's data says both cars are equal. The stopwatch says otherwise. Somewhere between those two truths lies the story of Oscar Piastri, a driver fighting not just for a title, but for the return of his own rhythm. If he can find it, the fight will explode into life once again. But if not, his bombshell in Mexico may come to mark the moment when his golden season began to unravel and the balance of power inside McLaren shifted for good.